So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Need a recommendation to approve the minutes for the February 6, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll start with our items for discussion today. And we have our Be Alliance update. Come on up, Janae. Nice to see you.
Hello.
See you as well. Speak louder. You're a teacher.
Teacher voice.
For all of our participants this evening. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening again to share our DEI, our Be Alliance update. And so for the month of March, as I send out the observances monthly, I will go through those and share some of the other updates for the things that we have been working on over the past couple of months. So for our month-long observances, we have March is Development Disabilities Month, which is every March, the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities, and its partners collaborate to lead Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. March is also Irish American Month, and that began in 1991, and there was a proclamation in 1991 commemorating this occasion every year. It is also Greek Heritage Month, celebrating in honor to Greek culture and the contributions of Greek Americans in the United States. And as we all know, it is also Women's History Month as well. And this month, as we continue to celebrate women, did you know Women's History Month actually started out as Women's History Week? I didn't know that. That was something new for me as well. So for our daily observances, we have Mardi Gras, which is on March 4th, and it takes place on Fat Tuesday, and is celebrated in preparation for Lent. March 5th, yesterday was Ash Wednesday, and that is the commemoration of the Lenten season. March 8th is International Women's Day. March 13th is the Jewish holiday of Purim, celebrated on the 14th Hebrew month of Adar. And it continues until Shabbat on March 14th. And it commemorates the divinely orchestrated salvation of the Jewish people. March 14th is Holi and is considered one of the most revered and celebrated festivals in India and is celebrated in almost every part of the country. It is also sometimes called the Festival of Love. March 20th is Nowruz and is a festival that celebrates the start of spring and the new year. It is celebrated by people with Persian cultural roots, and it is around the world. The holiday is marked by a 13-day celebration that includes family visits, feasting, and dancing. March 25th is the day the UN has designated as International Day of Remembrance of Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. It's about remembering the past and taking action today. March 29th is Ramadan, as it concludes. It is the commemoration of the revelation of the Quran, where there's fasting from food and drink during sunlit hours, and is a means of drawing closer to God and cultivating self-control and gratitude. March 30th is Navratri, one of the most vibrant and spiritual significant festivals in India. It is a 9-night celebration dedicated to the worship of the goddess Durga. This festival marks the worship of good over evil and symbolizes the divine feminine power. March 30th or 31st is Eid al-Fitr, a day celebrated by Muslims worldwide, which marks the conclusion of Ramadan. What I did learn this year about Ramadan, in addition to what you sent out, Dr. Vitale, as well, is that Ramadan's dates move based on the lunar calendar, so the dates change. So where I had dates, I actually made an addendum to this month because I had Ramadan ending as of April 1st, but due to the lunar calendar, there was a change. So I made that change in addition to that, because those are not known until the lunar, the moon shows. And on March 31st, each year, March 31st marks the Transgender Day of Visibility, and it is to raise awareness about transgender people. It is a day to celebrate the lives and contributions of trans people, while also drawing attention to poverty, discrimination, and the violence the community faces. This month, we had a workshop actually on February 20th, which was Why Words and Language Matter. That was very well attended. We had some great turnouts and discussions about language and how it's important about how we surround our students and why it's important that we use proper language and why we also should keep high expectations as well. Addressing bias was January 30th. And on March 20th, we have another workshop series on cultivating high expectations, which will surround explaining and helping teachers understand why high expectations are important for all our students and why it is necessary that we keep those expectations in a place for our students to reach, but also know that we need to have them for them as well. And on February 25th, we had our Black History Month coffee chat. The name of it was Being the First, Only or One of the Few, the Manifestation and Burden of Multidimensional Challenges. That was a very well-attended chat. We had a great time in discussing and learning about the different challenges are faced by people of color when they are the first, one of the only or the few, and what those type of burdens feel like in being in those positions. So we had some great conversation. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something tonight.
Maybe we should take the roll call now.
Since we have a full house today. Ann Catrillo,
Here.
Jason Goldstrom,
Present.
Debbie Kulik,
Present.
Rebecca Bear.
Present. Thank you. All right, moving on, we're going to take a second look at the science curriculum and materials.
Perfect timing.
That.
I ducked out because in reference to Women's History Month, I always find it fascinating that in our district, we not only have a female superintendent now, we've had a number of preceding female superintendents. And if you go down the hall and check the pictures on the side, we had one in 1966, which is very, very unusual. Yeah. So I've always wanted to dig into that and see, was she one of the only ones? What did that look like in the 1960s? But anyway, just wanted to call that out for our district. I think that's a pretty neat distinction. Again, I've been in 5 districts and that has not been in the case in my other districts. Okay, science curriculum update. We have our second look here at some materials, and I wanted to call out a few things so that we're prepared in the recommendations when we need to move them forward to a formal vote. First of all, there are 24 of them. Thank you. If you had the time to look at each of them, very proud of the work that our scientists, our teacher educators have done. One thing that stood out that was made, a comment was made to us about the incongruence seemingly between the biology objectives and the biology standards, because some of the biology objectives seemed pretty light in comparison to the standards. The standards really called for some higher depth of knowledge, some really had some verbs that were higher order, whereas the objective seemed really more concrete. And so what I did is I adjusted some language in all of the biology because the objectives correspond directly to the eligible content that's on the Keystone Biology test. So the Steele standards call for a higher order of thinking. We are still beholden to our Keystone Biology test that says students need to be able to know and display the kind of knowledge that's in those objectives. And we don't change that language. We keep that language. That's what's on the test. That's the eligible content. And so that's what we're going to be, we want to prepare our students for what it is that they're going to be seeing. So what I did, we talked about, and I'm going to quickly, could I display if you don't mind?
Yeah, you can share. You should have that,
That capability, right? Okay, here we go. I'm going to share really quickly. Oh, it says sharing is not turned on.
Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. Okay. Sharing?
No.
Mine says I am sharing, so I don't know.
I don't.
why I'm not. It's not crucial. What I
Hold on,
did is,
think he's working on it.
okay,
There's things happening on the screen.
on the backside. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't need it. It's literally one sentence, so I'll use my words. Under objectives in the very beginning, there is a definition of what those objectives are. So we've added a sentence that in the biology curriculum, there's 3: applied, CP, and honors, states very unequivocally that the objectives in this curriculum directly correspond to the eligible content that's present on the Keystone Biology test. The other thing that we've done is in that objective column, we've listed behind each objective an eligible content in EC, and then we actually put which eligible content it was from. That's helpful for me actually as a reviewer to be sure that all the pieces of eligible content and all the standards are in the course curriculum when it comes to the board. So you'll see that for future Keystone tested courses and future PSSA tested courses, so that even though you don't have a separate column for the eligible content, but the objective will represent the eligible content that is tested. Any questions on that?
Thank you for that.
Of course, of course. Second thing I wanted to mention is that these 24 courses will be supported by 14 different textbooks that the teachers and their committees reviewed. All of those textbooks are in our office right down the hall and are available for your review if you would like. They include the textbook evaluation form that the teachers filled out when they reviewed the different options that they had in course and textbook selection. And I said 3 things, didn't I?
Hey, Heather, will we be adding CP and honors for the introduction to engineering, or is that always going to be just applied for now?
It is just applied for now.
Okay, so as interest peaks, we may change it in the future?
I think this is part of a bigger conversation that needs to be had around electives and their leveling. So I think we're looking forward to Dr. Snyder joining the team and
Okay.
then having moving forward those conversations about at what point do we have leveled classes, core versus elective? How does that work? We do it in a number of different ways, but there doesn't seem to be a philosophy or a guiding value behind it. And so once we determine that, that will answer that question.
I guess the reason I asked that is because like forensic science, which is a science elective, doesn't have an applied, but it has a college prep and an honors. But the
Correct.
intro to engineer, which to me is a more advanced type class, is being taught on an applied level. Whereas somebody that is going into engineering is usually, not always, but usually somebody who has higher levels of math, higher levels of this. But yet we're teaching it on an applied level. So to me, it didn't make sense to me when I saw it.
I think, and I understand that, I could see that question. If Dr. Scott were here, I think he would say one of the reasons for this course is to get students who don't know or have never seen themselves as an engineer
Gotcha.
or a scientist to be able to embrace it and see that, hey, I can do this. This is
Okay.
something that is interesting to me. So I think that was one of those main reasons, is to not, I think that they would love to have a CP or honors in the future, but the
Okay.
starting point was here because they want to get that interest up.
Gotcha. Okay.
To that point, on the list, it says applied. But on the actual curriculum, it does not. And I thought when I spoke with DJ or when he was presenting that night, I thought it was CP,
That's why I was confused as well, so I wasn't sure.
to be
So
honest. I'm not
let's,
sure.
let me stop sharing real quick. And the way that I can find that out is
And it
by,
does say 0.5 credit at a weight of 1.25. So if it's.
that's college prep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
Right, so it doesn't match.
Okay, let me just, as a backup, I want to be sure that our program of studies is correct.
Okay,
So I'll go and check the program of studies when we have the next
Yeah.
presentation and just make sure that that is
okay.
correct. Thank you for that.
That's a good catch.
Yep.
Thank you.
I should have written down my third thing.
Think about it.
We'll be here a while.
Yes, okay, no problem at all.
It'll come back.
It will come back.
Maybe it's what I'm going to say, because I know it's something we had talked about, so maybe that's what it will be.
Oh, I do remember. The juxtaposition, so last month, you approved two different, you saw this curriculum. And you also saw the Intro to Statistics curriculum. The Intro to Statistics was written using our old curriculum template. And if you remember, the old curriculum template combined both the course curriculum and the course plan into one. And so we had some comments of, wow, it feels like the science course curriculum that presented was a little thin compared to all of the different things that were on that statistics curriculum. The reason for that is, if you remember about a year ago, when we went back to policy and said, what does policy say regarding these two documents? And so over the years, for whatever reason, our policy has always said the course curriculum and a course plan. The language is planned instruction or guides for planned instruction. And so about a year ago, we decided to go back to what policy said. And so our teachers are now going to be presenting you with course curriculum, which is what the 24 courses represent, and then the course plan. So some of the meat that you saw in that Intro to Statistics curriculum, you'll see informationally when you get the course plan that is in the process of being written. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So some just said, it seems like
Yeah.
we're moving forward with curriculum, but it's a little light compared to what it is that we used to see. We will see the robustness of that, but it's separated into two different documents.
And I mean, that is exactly the point I was gonna make. And I'm the one who brought it up because I commented on when I handed
I
out
remember, yeah.
the curriculum, how everyone was thrilled with it because it was so much material. I said, and when they see this one, they're, they'll have to be, and I will talk to the board at large about that.
Great.
When
Thank
I
you.
do my presentation, so everyone understands that. And I think what's really important is in this, in the course curriculum itself that we're getting, from the board's perspective, we're concerned with what the texts are that are being used. That's what, our
Mhm.
approval is. Obviously, the objectives and the standards, et cetera. But we want to give the teachers the freedom and the ability to change what their presentations are, what their assessments are,
Correct.
et cetera. So we will get the actual planning guides to look at as a board, but that's not something that we approve in policy. If that's, if people feel differently about that on the board, then there has to be a change in policy. The other point that I think is really important for us to know is that the reason why we have to approve the curriculum now and the books now before the guides at this point is because they need the materials to help them write the guides.
Gotcha.
So, and since that's not something in terms, the guides aren't something that we as board members approve, but we, look at and obviously can comment on, but nonetheless, so that's kind of the whole point, I guess, of it all.
And for timing, and not that Heather and Tabitha have done anything wrong, because they have done a masterful job with one less member of their team. But our goal will be for curriculum to be approved in early winter, late fall. That way the course guides can be written in the spring and we can roll out the following year. I kind of threw a monkey wrench in saying that I don't want the new curriculum implemented without the course guide, because then it's allows for a completely inconsistent implementation of the curriculum because there is no course guide. So we are working to kind of tighten up that process, and the goal was for curriculum, the framework. So I call this framework of what we have, but for the framework to be approved in like December, and then for the planned guides to be written and then reviewed before the end of the school year. So you'll start to see the timeline tighten up a little bit so that we're getting you this information earlier so that teachers have more time to write that before they're implementing it the following school year.
Okay, I just had a few things and, I apologize that the tardiness in which it comes, but I just have a few questions. I've always been a very particular about continuity in doing things and making things look the same across the board. I noticed in several of these, our course scope and sequence doesn't exist in the table of contents, but it does exist in some of the table of contents. Environmental science would be one. It's missing units 3 through 6 and their paginations does have 1, 2, 1 and 2. There's a whole, I have a bunch of these written down, but there's probably about 6 or 7 of them that I noticed. And then I just had a few other questions with regard to, I didn't really do a comparative analysis before with applied and the college prep and the honor, but I did this time. And so I'm just trying to get some clarification on the environmental science in college prep and applied. In unit 4, we have environmental health. And so in college prep, we allocate 28 days for college prep, but we allocate 14 days in applied. In the applied content section, it states this unit has been paced deliberately, allowing for more in-depth exploration of these topics, yada, yada. I don't understand why we took 14 days away from applied, because that piece of information, the unit has been paced deliberately to allow for more in-depth, does not exist in the college prep course. And the college prep course has twice as many days in order to cover the same number of, or the same topic. That was for the environmental. And again,
Which unit, just so I can,
that's in the unit 4, environmental health.
thank you.
And then for some of the other ones, I don't know why I picked it up this time, but I noticed our days to the number of days in a semester don't match. For example, like forensic science and CP, just the CP version of forensic science, we allocate 93 days for the semester of course curriculum time. In anatomy, in applied anatomy, we allocate 102 days for course time for the 90-day period. In physics, we allocate, it says 100%, but it actually allocates out to 88 days, which is fine. But in the physics honors, we allocate that to 80 days of course time. And it's not, there was pieces missing, like in unit 8 for the physics honors. It's the electricity and magnetism. It's not labeled in the content section, but it is present with the state portions on there.
I think it's just headings.
That was
headings
that
are
part,
added.
was just the headings. But as for the dates, I just don't understand, with regards to those dates. Again, the intro to engineering, we allocated 84 days for the 90-day. But if you add the percentages, they equal 100. I don't
So-
know how they,
All
because I
of that
do know,
wording should say approximate.
right,
I-
because there are ones that are listed between the 6 and 7 days, or 6 and 9 days, or 12
Right.
and 8 days. So if we could just,
Would you rather a range?
well,
In other words, I would never hold a
Like for
teacher,
AP
as you know, to,
right,
it says
for-
20 and you're on day 21. and
right.
Like, we
Like
would want that range.
like AP chemistry, we allocate, we allocated them very specifically as 34 days on this, 27 days on that. And when we add the numbers, the percentage comes to 100, but it's only 160 days. And so
I see what you're saying.
where are we, what content are we covering those other 20 days? And then, and like we said, with the applied and with like bio and the college prep and so on, there are those variation days, which makes sense.
Yep.
So if we can
So the AP question is because I'm sure that 160 is days to the test.
Right. And then
So-
20 days for the test?
20 days would be after
Mm.
that AP test. The question is, what are they doing then after that AP
Right.
test, right?
And so I just noticed that there were so, like I said, with regard to the 14 and the 28 days, that was the one that really stuck out to me.
Sure.
Because we cut the number of days for the content and we're telling.
Was there less content or was it the same content? I don't remember.
It was the exact same
Oh,
content.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I started going back and double checking and a lot of the content was identical, except for that portion that said allowing for more in-depth. So I didn't know if that's supposed to just be in the college prep portion, as opposed to the applied, because I couldn't imagine applied.
I'm gonna guess that's an error, but
14
I don't
days,
know,
right.
so I'm happy to go back
Yeah.
to that teacher and ask.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I don't mean to scrutinize it because I mean, I know how much work. I personally know how much work. it is.
Yes,
It's just when you look at the same document so many times over and
Sure.
over again, it looks correct. I mean, I know I do that all the time.
appreciate
My
that.
kids pointed out to me.
No,
They're
no
very-
problem at all.
They are,
They're very helpful.
yes, they are very helpful.
I'm glad they're paying attention.
Ah, that's true.
Yep,
Thank you. I appreciate
sure.
that.
And some of the discrepancy could be that table of contents too is an automated table of contents. And if things are changed and then the automated is not updated, then it doesn't match. So we'll be sure to go through all of it and make sure that it does match. We
If-
also talked,
If you need help with, like, that's like a fun afternoon for me, so if you need help, just let me know.
thank you.
Formatting is fun.
It is.
Don't judge me. Those were judgy eyes right there. Yeah, you making a
and-
note, uh-huh.
Thank you. And again, this is incredibly nerdy, but what a gift it is to have people at the board level really look at our curriculum and pay attention to these things that matter to kids. So thank you.
And it's tremendous amount of effort to do.
Yes,
it.
it
We do
is.
appreciate it very
We
much.
do. Anybody else have any questions? You good, Deb, over there? Okay. All right, then, I think we can move on. And we are on deck for March, April, and May.
All right, that is us again. So you'll see in, what we wanted to do is kind of give you a, a forward look at all the things that, because of various reasons, were put on our plate this year in terms of curriculum. Some of them are whole departments, some of them are stray courses that weren't finished at other times. But looking at the totality of the work, I just wanted you to be prepared for the amount of curriculum that may be coming your way very soon. Yeah, and I realized that I omitted the number of world language courses. That's another 21 courses there. So I think it's 82 total coming your way. Not all of them are on track to get finished the way that they should. So I don't know if all of them will come at you in the next couple of months, but it is our goal. And our department chairs are working really hard to make sure that they get that done. And in addition to that, we have both English 9 to 12, who is in stage 2 of their curriculum. So they're not ready for curriculum writing, but they've been meeting. Dr. Ware is here tonight. We've been having some high-level conversations. They've returned from their national conference with a whole lot of ideas and a lot of energy to do this work. And then we have a number of departments in stage 1, which is really just organizing the work and starting to look at our social studies K to 12 has been doing that right now. And they've been some really rich conversations from the teachers, and we're looking forward to bringing those to you in future years. So in addition to the actual curriculum and materials, some of these are just, let me call it quantify here, clarify. Some of these are just the curriculum because materials were purchased during, because of the ESSERS grant. They were purchased before the curriculum was written. We don't want that to happen, but these are remnants. So intermediate school ELA and math course curriculum, for example, they have their materials already, but the curriculum needed to be done. So that's going to be done. Whereas others have both curriculum and materials that will be coming to you. And then, of course, stage 4 is the course plan development. And so after this, once, if we approve this tonight and it moves on to full board, our science chairs will be giving us names for the curriculum, the course plan, the plan guides to be written next. They will go on the board and that process will start for them. And the same with some of our math courses that were already approved, but have some new levels. We just had some new high school leveled math department courses that are going to be approved shortly, and they've already started their plan development also. So you'll see some of those plans cross our desk here in the next 3 months.
And there is the 4-year plan or the 4 stages, as you mentioned, and which courses are in each stage. Is that something that we could get a copy of, just so that in my mind, kind of as these things come
Sure.
through, I can kind of check mark, off, so I know like what I'm looking for now, kind of in the future,
Absolutely.
those kinds of things.
Yep, we presented it a while back, but even
Yes, I
after
remember
that,
that.
we've had some adjustments, so absolutely
yeah.
happy to give that to
Yeah.
you.
No,
Yep, yeah.
I remember when you presented, and I appreciate that.
Yep,
for
no
sure.
problem at
Thank
all.
you.
And I should clarify, there are 6 stages. It's a 6-year cycle. The stage 5 and 6 are really adopting it, implementing and refining it.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions on any of that?
I'm excited we're getting to curriculum and actually seeing it now, just.
It's very exciting for
Good.
sure.
Thank
It
you.
sure is for
To no
us.
one else but us.
I know, right? I'm not even a teacher, but I'm like, oh, yeah.
No, I can't.
We're allowed to nerd out. It's okay.
It is.
It's true. All right, if there are no questions, then we'll move on to D, and that is special education plan report.
Good evening and thank you. I'm here tonight with Dr. Olszewski, and we're going to talk about the Special Education Comprehensive Plan. And I just want to take a moment just to recognize and thank all those from the core team down to the subcommittee, down to the steering committee. And especially I want to recognize Dr. Olszewski in the time, energy, and effort that she has put into co-doing this project with myself and some others from our core team. I do also want to recognize Dr. Thule Vitale, for leadership and guidance. We as a department, we attempted to do a different approach with this round's comprehensive plan. This is my 3rd comprehensive plan here, not necessarily the special education comprehensive plan, but and then when I say that, we looked at a little bit more robust, a little bit more of involvement, a diverse background in all those that were part of each level of the teams, and I think that we really got some strong feedback on this. I'm going to put some things in perspective for you a little bit so you understand. So we do this every 3 years in special education comprehensive planning. And this year is that time. In addition to that, we also go through a process of a special education audit. And when we have the audit, usually the comprehensive plan will follow after that. In the Bureau of Special Education, the Department of Education, they would like for us to consider what are the recommendations, what are the highlights, the highs and the lows that come out of a district's comprehensive evaluation process. So we can put those in a plan and work on those with goals and objectives. And we've done that this last time around, but I believe because of the COVID year, plans and things like that from the Department of Education level have been delayed. So I think we're just starting to see the impact, the effect of that now, all these years after, because they delayed, they waited another year, and it set a different kind of a schedule. Fortunately for us, I'm going to say fortunately, because we get to get them done at the same time during the same year, meaning the audit, which is coming up in April, and the comprehensive plan process. So we don't have to delay and wait a year to do that. We're able to do those together. So, and you can just imagine the amount of buzzwork that's going on right now in pupil services, because we have 2 major major projects that we're doing right now. So with that, again, perspective, put some things in mind here for everyone. So tonight we're talking about where we are with our completed draft. It is a draft right now because we have to take 30 days and do a public post view for that. And we're looking to do that the first week here in March, going into next week, Monday at the latest. And we're hoping to keep that open and get some additional feedback from the public for 30 days up until at least April the 6th. And then after that, it gives us some time to go back and make some revisions, some additions. And then we could bring it back to the board for board review and discussion and get an approval on the April 28th meeting. And then we're looking to submit April 29th to the Department of Education so we can meet the May 1st deadline with the Department of Education on that. So it's kind of our plan right now. Again, it's a blueprint for execution of the plan, and it's a little robust right now. I understand, and I apologize that the members of this committee have not had a full comprehensive review. We were a late addition onto the agenda, and I want to thank you for your understanding and your support with that. However, you do, as the public does, throughout the month of March up till April 6th to provide any input on that. And we certainly look forward to that. So this evening, what we're going to do, what Dr. Olszewski is going to do is he's going to talk about the plan, the process. It's a little different in terms of even the system that we use. There's been some adjustments, some revisions to that over the course of the last couple of years. And she's just going to hit some of the highlights of some of the areas that we took a look at that is our focus point coming in. And I finally want to say this, and that is this, as part of this year plan experience, we as a core team and as a subcommittee, we took a look at, for example, if you look on the wall over to the left here, you see the mission and the vision statement. We made a really heavy emphasis on everything and anything in the actions of this plan. We want to ensure that it is an alignment with the mission and the vision. And that was the basic question. Any section that we went over that we talked about, does it align and support those 2 points about East Stroudsburg Area School District? So with that, Dr. Olszewski.
Thank you so much. Can you guys see my screen?
No?
Nope.
No? Okay. Mr. Cooper, you're gonna help me with that. Should I plug in up front?
I do too.
But not on our TVs.
Right. So should I?
It is on the Zoom session, okay.
But we can get it on the screens here. Come on up.
We have a copy of it, right?
So,
We have a copy of it.
You have a copy as a
So we can-
PDF?
Yeah.
We can watch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you rather sit, Mary?
No. Okay.
I see it.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay, so the special education comprehensive plan, I'm just going to go through a very brief presentation about that. So. So our special education plan, what that looks like, it ensures that our special education students are receiving the best program possible. And it outlines the services that we provide in our district as well as outside of our district. So for instance, we use some special education placements outside our district, such as Colonial Academy, Foxmont Academy, Graham Academy. So it also looks at those services that we are providing to our students. The plan is based on our cyclical monitoring and 13 different areas that the state looks at. So when they come in, and then we might be identified for areas of need. So it's based on that as well as data that we send to the state. And in here.
I don't know.
Excuse me 1 second. I clicked it and said, okay. Oh, now it's going. Okay. Yep, still stuck, okay. So as Mr. Batter said, we use the plan once every 3 years. And the plan does ensure that high quality special education programming for all students with disabilities. And again, like I had mentioned before, it's developed based on the district's special education data and analysis of those needs. So the special education plan has 13 different areas that we look at. Our district needs improvement in 3 areas. The first is suspensions and expulsions, and that's specific by race and ethnicity, timely evaluations, and educational environment. So I'm just going to talk briefly about each of those areas and what we've done over the last 3 years to address those. So with addressing suspensions and expulsions, I feel like we've done a lot of hard work. And I do want to thank the board because you all have been very supportive of the programs and the initiatives that we've asked to do. And that I think has really helped our district. So some of the things is we have a new model for in-school suspension. So for those of you who don't know, when a student is up for a suspension, even if we keep them in in-school suspension, it counts as one of their days. So we try not to ever go over 15 days for our special education students. So what we did is in our in-school suspension rooms, we have staff that are trained in helping them with social emotional learning, like what happened that you're in the room today, to try to help them reflect back on, you know, why they're there, so to prevent any recidivism of those behaviors. We hired a full-time behavior support coach. So we always had for the last several years, we've had our A2E program. However, that was working with our drug and alcohol counselor. And now we've hired her full-time and she's working with those students more in our emotional support classrooms. Dr. Peperato has helped with our restorative practices training, and to date, 100 staff have been trained on restorative practices. And we've increased our mental health support. In the district now, we have 7 mental health professionals that work throughout the district doing individual and group counseling. And we have 8 mental health workers that support our emotional support classrooms. Okay, so they help not only with they help provide lessons to the students who are in those emotional support classrooms. We have 4 behavior analysts who work on our functional behavior assessments. 3 of them are contracted through the IU, and then 1, Jennifer Fuller, is our district hired one. And lastly, we're piloting a program over at High School South called the RI room, replacement instruction room, so that when a student does a low-level offense, rather than putting them in school suspension, we put them in this replacement instruction room where we have teachers teaching them, so it's not counting as a day of suspension. So we feel that all those things are going to really help reduce our rates. And I know even tonight when we were in our meeting, we're not even using our A2E program as much as we were because we have a lower rate of expulsions right now.
And how do you measure that?
How are we measuring that?
Yeah.
Well, just we haven't had that many students expelled, like.
So you don't really have a benchmark or anything that you.
Well, we just know the amount of students that we've expelled, like this year compared to last year, so we can look at it that way. And like the length of their expulsion, so right now we don't have anybody on like a whole year expulsion, we have, like I said, 2 students on 90-day ones.
I just want to be clear, we do have students on full year expulsion.
Oh, sorry, but I mean, I think it started this year, like since the beginning of this year.
Correct, but there are students in this calendar year.
Yes, true. Yeah, so like for this year that started so far, we don't have anybody out, like they haven't been expelled yet.
We haven't levied any this year.
Right.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So we have some that are serving a consequence from last year, correct?
Expelled last year, they were at the full year But, the students this year, we haven't had any that we put out for a whole year.
Have we seen repeat behaviors or are we seeing less repeat behaviors of like those students that went into like the restorative room? Are we seeing?
We do have data on, we definitely have data on the students who have gone through the ATE program, that there's been less recidivism with those students, the students who have, because the ATE program is voluntary, so they don't have to do it. But the students who have done that, we do have data that shows that those students are less likely to have another major behavioral incident.
Do you have percentages?
For that, for the ATE, yes, but I don't have that on, me, but I can get it for you.
I can just, let me just add that, since the opening of ADE, that was what, 2 years ago. We, up until now, we had, well over 70, plus students that went through the ADE who volunteered to do that. And out of those 70 plus, again, just a quick estimate, maybe there was probably 4 repeat offenders out of that 70 that ended up back up on suspension and expulsion.
How are we seeing with like the new reflections room and stuff like that? Is it helping?
Yes, so the two different programs are, we have the reflection coaches now in there, really working with the staff. They're at least bachelor level people who are working in those 2 reflection rooms, the one at South and one at North. And then we have the RI room here that is definitely helping reduce our in-school suspension rates.
And what's the reception from the parent or guardian?
Well, I think the parents and guardians are glad when we have them in the in-school suspension room, rather than, sending them at home. And, what we find, at least what I see, is a lot of times when we send the students home on long suspensions out of school, most of the parents don't have consequences for that. So they're not usually upset by that. So it's actually better that we're keeping them in school as much as we can, and then helping them reflect back on their behavior. So it's not like a fun vacation for them.
Right.
As you can imagine. So, the parents have been receptive to that. They're also very receptive to the ADE program, because especially when it came to drugs, the students were expelled for a year. We were cutting that down to half the time. So the parents are thrilled with that position, because then the students aren't out of our school as much. The second area is timely evaluations, and I feel like this is an area that we worked really hard on, and I feel it's an area that we definitely will not be on for next time. For those of you who have been on the board, you may know there still is a nationwide shortage of school psychologists. So we were really having trouble getting the evaluations done in a timely manner. Because at one point, I think we only had 4 psychologists for the whole district. So it created us being in trouble with the state for not having those done within the 60-day time frame. Our district really worked hard on creating a whole process for the evaluations. We hired 2 diagnostician positions, which helped the school psychologists, which have been a tremendous help and very well received by our schools and by our psychologists. And we also hired, as I mentioned before, the 4 behavior analysts that help do the functional behavior assessments. So that all contributes to making sure that we're timely with our evaluations. The district has opening for 7 school psychologists. We're still at 6. We do have 2 contracts in place with some outside people that can help when they can. But we're still looking to fill those positions. That one position. The last area that is one of the areas that we were flagged on is the least restrictive environment. And that's a tough one, because if the state wants us to educate students as much as possible in the regular education environment, historically, our district has been in this one for many years. But we have a lot of students coming in with a lot of needs. So we're doing our best to put them out in regular education as much as possible. So some of the things that we're working on is co-teaching. We're really working on that at the elementary level. They're piloting that at Bushkill Elementary. We have our study strategies class that really helps the students who they're transitioning from middle school to high school. That's shown a great success at both levels, with the students coming over, because we know that transitioning from middle school to high school, has a lot of challenges. So that class that they run are really helping those students who are at risk at the intermediate level. We're seeing a lot of success with that. We really strengthened the MTSS district-wide, and again, I want to thank the board for being supportive of those positions. It's something that I know I fought for, is to have a MTSS specialist in each of our buildings, which we have now. That's been really wonderful at providing more interventions for the students. And then at the secondary level, we have what's called the early warning system, which looks at, it's run through our Sapphire program, and it looks at 3 areas: discipline, attendance, and grades. And weekly, that system sends out a report to the 4 schools. It highlights students who are at risk, at high risk, medium risk, low risk, and no risk, so that we can catch, it kind of like throws the net wide to catch any students who may have missed before with any kind of issues. And then we've also been doing a lot of training with our one law firm, Sweet Stevens, to help with the regular ed teachers being more aware of what they can do to support the students within the classroom who have needs.
Question, on the co-teaching part, is it indeed 2 certified teachers working together, not a teacher and a paraprofessional?
Oh, it's 2 teachers.
Okay, only because when we started with inclusion, remember many, many years ago, the model was co-teaching. And we did that, and then because of economics and everything else that has transpired in our world, we went to, you know, taking out the second teacher, special ed teacher actually, and putting in the paraprofessional. So I'm happy to see that we're going back to what a true model of co-teaching should be, you know, particularly for our students in most need.
So,
So it's really important.
Mrs. Controller, just to add, just with the co-teaching, you know, why are we at Bushkill right now? We have a principal that was excited. He came to us and said, "I'd like to try this. I'd like to do it. I have the team. I have teachers that have volunteered. They really want to do this."
Okay.
So, and it's been, when I say successful, I think the biggest success part of this right now is that they feel there is no territorial for special education and for general education. It's our territory. And so we've had just, when you think about the small victories, we've had some magnificent small victories on this process thus far.
Excellent. And the study strategies class, is that the one that we're talking about in 9th grade? That's
Yes.
in the English class?
Yes,
And then
yes. So then actually, we're really working on that now. Like, for instance, right now they're already starting the process of like with South and JT Lambert, for instance. We know we have a huge amount of emotional support students coming over. In fact, I think the last number was 17 coming over that need that support. So they're already working on how we're going to support all these students. We're changing some of our models there so that we have the staff to make sure that those students are successful. We have such a large number coming over.
Is that, are the teachers that are doing the study strategies with those students part of the MTS program?
But, well, I think some of them volunteer, yes, like they have different roles within MTSS.
I mean, because I see that, obviously I see that working together, you know what I mean? It would make the most sense if that was the case, I would think, but I was just curious.
I would argue every teacher is part of the MTSS program because it's a 3-tiered program. So every teacher is tier 1, and this is more of a tier 2 support.
The LRE is an important area because this part of our enrollment, our population, when we're putting the audit together and the comprehensive plan together, the numbers in special education here at East Stroudsburg, we're almost teetering at 23% of our population. Okay, we're going up a little bit. And the state average, it fluctuates between 15, 16. So we've been consistent above the state average, and the state doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say they don't like that, but they want us to ensure that we're doing our due to ensure that we're not over identification with student, and we're also implementing strategies and planning to address being above the state average. Again, when you heard Dr. Olszewski talk about the consistency in this area of LRE, we as a district, East Stroudsburg's been working on this over the last 3 decades because our population is high. And again, I don't think that's not a horrible thing or a terrible thing. I actually embrace it. I think it's a really good thing because we have a lot of resources and we're doing an awful lot for all students and all families. So bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then, lastly, this is, we talked about the 3 areas, but these are just some general improvements that we've made over the last 3 years. So at the elementary level, we have 3 new autistic support classrooms at that level that are run by the district and not the IU. The IU really wasn't, able to support all the students we have coming in with that, needing, autistic support programming. So, that enabled, well, that perpetuated the elementary supervisors to open, they opened 1 the first year and then 2 more this year. And I think they're looking to open, they're not here, but I think they're looking actually to open probably even another one next year. We've opened 1 new full-time emotional support classroom at High School North, 2 supplemental emotional support programs at intermediate level. One of the other programs that we've done is the 12+ program, both at High School North and High School South, that we're very proud of. That allows the special education students with, they're in the 18 to now 22 range. It's a 2-part program. 1, they're working within our school district with the various departments, like they're working with food service, they're working with the environmental services program. And then we also have them out in the community, such as Camelback, they're at the movie theater, they go to different places getting that job experience. We have been asked, we have presented that at the state level. We've got a lot of positive feedback on that. The news has featured that program as well, so we get a lot of good feedback on that program. At the elementary level, they're running parent trainings for the families after work. So that's been very popular as well. And then at the High School North, we have what's called the PACE Lab, which is a work-based learning lab where the students work on those job skills. So those are some more improvements we've made over the last 3 years. Again, I really think that our district does so much to support students, their mental health, and really educating the whole child. And honestly, like, and I'm not just saying this because I work here, I really feel like this district does more than anybody around for our students, and I'm very proud of that and really happy with the support that everybody's given our department, and you know, the families feel that way too. So again, thank you for that support. It's been very helpful.
I know when we implemented the PACE Lab at North and we have the apartment here at South.
Yes.
And when we did it, we said that we were going to allow students from North to come to South, South to North, to kind of take advantage of everything. And that's why we did 2 separate ones. Are we doing that?
I know they've been in talk to do that. We had a little bit of some challenges with the PACE Lab, so I think you're gonna see that more this year where they're switching to flip-flop that.
Right.
But definitely this year, one thing North had, besides the PACE Lab, they really improved on. We have Amanda Parrish, who is one of our former principals. She's in a different role up there now.
Mhm.
She was incredible and went out to the community and made agreements with a lot of the local businesses, like the hardware stores and different places. And she's really getting those students out a lot more, as well as in their coffee shop open all day long. So those students are really having enhanced opportunities that they didn't have before.
Okay.
So we're really proud of what's the work that's also being done at High School North with their transition.
Right, they
program.
don't have the apartment that South has, and I know that was one of the things that we were concerned about when we
Yeah.
chose the pays. You know, we gave them the pays
Mhm.
and South has the apartment.
Mhm.
And when it was presented to us 2 years ago, it was, we were going to be
Yes,
kind of
you're
moving,
correct.
being more fluid with it so that our South students could take advantage of it up there, because they don't have that lab here. And then our North students would be able to come down and actually have the apartment learning experience as well.
Yes.
And I haven't heard it. I was waiting to hear successes on that, but I haven't heard it yet.
I'm gonna.
I-
Okay.
I want to add,
I know they are in communication, the north and the south, and both of the teachers definitely keep in communication. And I know there's been discussions about that and, coming in. So, but I will revisit that.
I want to add and just highlight as part of our comprehensive plan too, just an update on our unified sport program. We have right now that it just started this week for the unified track. And our numbers in both North and South High School, the numbers are over 30+ students right now that are participating in that. We've seen an increase too in the bocce. Our teams have done extremely well again this season, and we also have coming in the young athletes program in our elementaries. So our district right now, out of 10 buildings, 7 out of 10 buildings touch special education programming. And I was informed recently by the Pennsylvania Special Education contact person that East Stroudsburg right now in the state of Pennsylvania is the #1 district across the state with 7 sites of special education. And the nearest one to us outside of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, the next district is General McLean out in Western Pennsylvania, where Dr. Bradley is out that way. They have a total of 5. So we've been recognized as one, but we're also #3 in the state of Pennsylvania that is implementing the new young athletes program for K-2 at the elementary level. And that's the basic teaching students how to run, throw, things like this. Just some basic skill builders so we can give them a head start in their development with activities. So excited to share that out.
May I offer a clarifying statement? Mr. Baddick, you kept saying special education, and I think you meant Special Olympics.
Special education, special
So,
Olympics. Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Rosado and Mrs. Wasaski were doing minutes today, and we're very frustrated when people were miscuing. So
I'm
I just want
sorry.
to make sure
I'm
that
sorry.
that every one of our buildings has special education programs.
They do.
7 has Special Olympics.
Yeah, I'm a little rusty on my
And
presentation
it's Special
with
Olympics. is merit
DBR,
number
so.
1.
But it is Special Olympics. Thank you so
Special ed-
much.
Special Olympics is, we're #3 in the state with the most amount of programs in our schools. Which is impressive when you look at the size of other school districts.
And we're a small
We are
district,
only behind Pittsburgh Public and Philadelphia.
and they're huge.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Oh.
Of
course.
I think I need just lots of clarification. And I appreciate the apology in the beginning that we didn't get anything until today. So this is really kind of, hitting us all in one shot for us to kind of comprehend what it is that we're getting, what we have to read through, obviously. And the dates, like in terms of things when they have to be in, when, it has to move forward. So and even just generally speaking, the comprehensive plan itself, everything that was presented, and thank you, beautiful, and amazing how much we really do accomplish, and, shout outs all the time to our special education teachers, having, worked side by side with them, just an amazing job what we do for our students. But all of that being said, we're looking at a particular plan. Is a comprehensive plan, a 3-year comprehensive plan, is it a look back of what we have accomplished? And that's kind of, what we've been going through tonight, all of our accomplishments? Or is a comprehensive plan putting in place what we're supposed to do for the next 3 years? I'm unclear on that. That's my first question.
I can answer.
Okay.
Our comprehensive plan is looking forward. What we do highlight, we want to add value to what we currently have, but we also are looking, for the future to increase, based on our data, based on what our feedback is coming from our Pennsylvania Bureau of Special Education audit. Again, typically, as I said to you, you don't do both projects in the same year. We just hit it this year this way. You do your audit first, and then based on that, those are the concepts, the ideas that you want to build upon on your comprehensive plan. but we're not at that point right now. So we're gonna get probably the comprehensive plan, more feedback on that, and that will probably be out and sending to the state by the 1st. But we will still be working, and we won't have the feedback yet from the Bureau of Special Education audit. That doesn't happen. That doesn't start until April the 7th. And they usually take 3 to 6 months to get the report back to the district, so that we can begin to, do any corrective action that is necessary. And sometimes those corrective actions, they want to see those in your comprehensive plan.
So,
So,
Ian,
yeah,
oh,
I'm sorry.
can I just add one thing? So in terms of your question, yes, it is a plan for the future, but those 3 areas that I talked about, the suspensions, the timely evaluations, and the least restrictive environment, those are areas that we were flagged in for our monitoring, so we have to address those and what we've done in those 3 areas. So that's why I was kind of talking about like what we've done in those areas, because those we have to report on. Like there's 13 different areas. We only have to report on those. When you go into the plan and look, you'll see like we only have to report on those 3 areas. So that's why we had to address those areas going forward. And like I said, I know that we haven't had a problem with a timely evaluation. Gosh, I think it's at least 2.5 years. I'd have to like see if I could find that. But we haven't had a problem with that, but that's still an area we were still flagged on that we had to address.
I get that, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So just that, so
If
I'd
I
like to
can-
answer your question with that.
I think the question though is, you presented on what you were working on.
Mhm.
I think what I'm
Yes.
hearing from Mrs. Catrillo is you didn't talk about what's in this current 200-page document that they just got.
But I mean, my concern is, and I wrote down 2 dates. The first date was April, having that the board doesn't have to vote on it, I get it, until April 28th. But there was a date about April 6th that we should have like all of our the 28 days, I guess, that all of our comments and such should be done by April 6th. And I'm assuming that's because the audit is coming in, I think we said now April 8th or whatever. So that those changes can be made. But at EPR, we don't meet again until April 10th. And while I don't have a problem, obviously, as it, being out for the 28 days, but as a committee, I can't say that we can bring it forth to the board, right? We haven't even read it yet. I mean, I don't even know what's in it. I'm really at a loss, to be honest. Like, I mean, we've literally just were told, tonight, or, maybe an hour or 2 before we got here, if we were online,
So let me-
we got the update. And the
Yes.
only other thing too is, I mean, I brought up the plan here real quick just to see it. And it said steering committee, and it said I was on the steering committee, and I wasn't on the steering committee. I mean, I think there was a meeting on Monday, but I wasn't present. So I don't know, like, I don't have any knowledge of this, so I don't know why my name is on it. So that just, I don't want to put my name on something I haven't
Mhm.
even looked at.
So,
Never mind, say that I was part of the committee. I was
Okay,
concerned.
so when we first did it, I had that, I'll take responsibility for that, probably like your name, because I had sent you the email asking if you would like to be on the special
Right.
education committee, so
Yes,
that's why I
yes,
put, yeah,
yeah.
right, so that's why I put your name on that first page.
Mhm.
And then the steering committee meeting, Mr. Baddock, I believe, sent the invites out for that was on the 2 sessions on Monday.
Yeah.
But I
we
can,
couldn't
yeah,
attend,
that's,
so-
yeah, so I can take your name off if you'd like, sorry.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I
But-
mean, because I thought, like,
Did it-
when I think of a steering committee, I think of more than one meeting.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think that we're part of the process. And so we, read or comment on whatever section, and then just kind of
Mhm.
be aware of it moving forward, that's all.
Well,
And
again,
what's
Mrs.
happening.
Control, if I could just jump in, I just want to make you aware, I mean, tentatively, we're looking at, so we're going over this tonight, and we have to we have a little bit of a window. We have up until April 6th. That's kind of like the goal. We want to get it posted now for public up till April the 6th. You said April 10th is the next,
That's our
Ex-
meeting.
that's
correct.
your meeting.
Mhm.
So we still have a little bit of time, but we also still have time too, as we look at our tentative blueprint outline to add another steering committee follow-up final review before we go to the school board meeting on the 28th. So we still have an opportunity to, to look at and have more dialogue and discussion before it gets submitted by May 1st.
Just try to,
Read it, but.
try to process all of it. A lot.
I don't expect you to read it all tonight and say, okay, go ahead. No, that's not gonna happen. We understand. I get that. That's not the point. I think we have to get it in this committee's hands. And so we can begin to have some discussion. And we're, again, the April the 10th time, I think that could be another opportunity for myself and Dr. Ostrowski to come back in and just do any follow-up discussion. So I think there's a lot of opportunity now than ever before in past special education comprehensive plans for a lot of review, a lot of input, and a lot of people to provide involvement.
And I, really, I don't disagree with any of that. My concern is I'm going to go home and read however many pages it is, 200, somebody said, how many?
228.
228 pages. And I haven't been given in this presentation what I should even be looking for in the plan. You know what I mean? Like an outline. These are the things that are there. Like what is the plan about that we're looking forward? Like I had to ask the question just as a clarification for myself, having been an educator, thinking, okay, a comprehensive plan means looking ahead, not looking back. But I had to ask that clarifying question. So while it can be out there for 28 days, that's fine. And we can make the comments ourselves when we come back on April 10th.
I'll email you mine.
And
since I
you'll,
won't be
you know what I
here.
mean? And you'll have, and you'll have the audit, to go forward, I guess, just, I don't know what the word is, disappointed, concerns that I'm reading through this document, trying to make sense of it. And as a board member, trying to do my job with fidelity and not really, kind of going at it blindly, I guess, is my concern. That's all.
Agreed.
Agreed over here. Okay, Deb, you have any comments? No. Okay. All right, then that's it. We'll move forward. All right, we're moving on to shout outs. Yay for this part.
Well, we wanted to give a shout out to, yes, I mixed the names up, so I want to make sure I get it right. Paul Kernan, and his team of students and teachers that provided our 5th grade students from the entire district, our science day. I'm not sure if any of you had the chance to pop over. Heather and I made our 2nd year visit, and we're just so impressed that they were able to double it and make it for all of our students this year, which was very exciting. And the enthusiasm was incredible.
It was amazing to see. In fact, one teacher passed us and said, who knew that the kids would be so excited about toilet paper? Because Mr. Scott put, toilet paper on a paint thing on a leaf blower, and then the toilet paper went everywhere, and it was just this is a joint shout out, because the shout out is obviously an amazing participation with the elementary kids, but our staff was so good. One of the elementary teachers turned to us and asked about Mr. Scott. Is he a professional like that you hired for the day to come in here and do this?
Well, yes, we just happen to hire him every day.
So it was fun to see mad scientists in action.
Yes.
If I could, I would have bought a little white lab coat for all of those little kitties when they walked in the door. Wouldn't that be fun to see them while they're black?
$25 million.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
And I think I love the shout out, and I think it just shows the interconnectedness of our school community, and that our high school teachers and students recognize how important it is to engage our elementary students and be one connected district. So it was a wonderful event.
And just in case you had the question, I don't know that we had any ESACA students participate, but we absolutely invited them. Because we really hoped that that would be another connector, right? Just to have them
Mhm.
see the kinds of things that that our district offers.
Can I do a shout out?
Of course.
Sure.
I want to
Rosemary.
recognize Dr. Ware, who was here in the audience, and I was up at the North Campus. Dr. Vitale and I were up there for a meeting, and we stopped into the National Honor Society luncheon. Incredible opportunity to see a library filled with honor society and just the interaction and just the feel in that library. It was just absolutely incredible to see young teens just enjoy themselves and have lunch together. And it was just so exciting. So I want to thank you, Dr. Ware, for that and the opportunity to experience that. And congratulations on all your work that you continue to do with National Honor Society.
And if we can note, not one student had a phone out.
Very
They were all
nice.
completely engaged in their own conversation.
And you know, and not one spilled anything.
That too, in the library.
And they actually bust each other. They were busting each other's tables. It was just an
It was wonderful.
incredible experience up there. So it's a reflection of you and those that are working with you in that
Thank you.
area. So
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And any public participation?
One person here, Eric Beckley. I don't, they have raise their hand or anything.
Okay,
Thank you.
So just listening. Okay, thank
Dr.
you.
Ware.
Appreciate it. And then we're going to move on to our advisory recommendations for consideration by the Finance Committee and or the Board of Education. Okay, so the first one is we need a motion to make a recommendation to move the high school science written course curriculum to the full board for approval.
Are we moving this?
That's
Are
all
we
I'm
gonna get,
asking.
I just get that clarification on the,
Just, I guess, those adjustments.
yeah,
And
'cause
then move it
like the
Happy to make
engineering,
that.
just
Yes.
because it says applied and it's
That sounds
1.25, those
Yep.
little things that we've noticed, yep.
Let's-
And then,
Make
his-
the motion in order to.
Make the
Okay.
discussion.
To
That's why I was
do
waiting.
something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why.
So I make a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
And then,
With-
We
with
will
what
make
you
those
said.
improvements before it
Can we-
goes to the
yeah,
full
right,
board.
so then I'll remake the motion to move the curriculum forward with the modifications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, again, need a motion to make a recommendation to purchase the following textbooks in alignment with the course curriculum approved above. A physical sample of each of the texts with the accompanying textbook evaluation form is available in preview in the Office of Curriculum Instruction until March 17th. The specifics are high school science textbooks from McGraw-Hill are in the amount of $205,037.15 to be funded through the general fund. B, to purchase high school science textbooks from Pearson in the amount of $77,745 plus 10% shipping of $7,774 to be funded through the general fund. C, recommendation to purchase high school science textbooks from Savas in the amount of $23,263.62 to be funded through the general fund.
Second.
Discussion. I have just one question. Why the general fund and not the curriculum and instruction budget?
It's a great question.
Very good question. So when Dr. Riker was here, he set aside carved out of that fund, $1 million fund for new, I'm trying to remember, new initiatives, new programs, things like that. And so what happened when Dr. Vituli set the budget for this coming school year, he set the budget for the purchase of the things that we just saw, those 82 things, and not this, because this was considered so new with the Steels initiative that the thought was that they would take that out of that $1 million that was carved out of the general fund.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then moving on to a motion to post the special education plan report for the required 28-day public review and subsequent approval by the board at their April 28th, 2025 regular school board meeting.
Second.
Discussion.
And we'll get time to look at the revisions or make notes on it before that, correct? Or during that period of time?
My,
Yes.
my understanding / recommendation is that, special education, whether it's, you know, both of you, whomever, will be here at our April 10th meeting to take our questions and concerns and,
And I'll email mine in since I will be traveling for work and won't be present.
okay, thank you.
I have that award ceremony that I got for work, so.
Okay, I thought that was mine.
No, April tenth, I
Oh, it's
received a,
April. Okay.
I was the top 1%
Thank
in my
you.
company for an
Oh,
award,
no,
so I could go
congratulations,
to
that's
that.
wonderful, no. Maybe, you know,
I know.
Dr. Vitale, maybe you can answer this for me if this is okay. Can we, say to the, you know, let the board know, obviously, that this is up, let them read it, so then if they have any questions, they can either come to the EPR meeting itself on April
Yes, they
10th
can ask
and
them.
or send questions to me.
Yeah.
So that we can then make sure, you know, I mean, yes, we can have a full discussion at the April board meeting, but since this is obviously such a timely concern, I don't want to wait to have major problems, you know, or concerns. Not that there will be, just saying, I don't know if it will be, you know, at the April 28th meeting, so I would like to be able to have, you know, that full discussion or whatever concerns we would have.
Yeah,
By the April
so
10th.
may I answer it since it was posed to me?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. So what I would ask is if I can chat with Mr. Baddock and maybe if we can get a one-page synopsis of what the goals are of this. And then in my Friday emails, not tomorrow, but in my next Friday's
yeah.
email, I'll include the full plan with like a one
That'd be
pager
great.
to the board and kind of what the process has been so that they have time to review it. Or like just a one pager. Does that work?
Yeah,
Sure.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it would be helpful if you'd like us to do this is, if you want us to host like another time, like during the day or in the evening where we could have the board come in, to go through some more points, or if you'd like us to host another, steering committee meeting where we could have people come in, you know, I'm certainly willing to do that. I don't know if that would be helpful or not.
I mean, I guess I would wait until I see what is given to us on the, you know, from Dr. Vitale first, only because then I think then we'll have an understanding if we need it or not. Are you, when you have it open to the public for the 28 days, is that just for
They
them
can
to
make
submit like
Comments.
questions online or whatever, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'll work with Eric, when we get it posted. Eric and I will set up, we've done this in the past where we will put, a link or the ability to, provide some input on that. And so
Okay.
that's one of the reasons why we have it out there.
Yeah, I didn't, what I was leading up to is I wasn't sure if you were going to have like you were saying for us, a physical meeting. Do you know what I mean? For the
We
public
could
as
do
well,
another-
or if it's just online.
Yeah,
I mean. that's
Yeah, I
just
could add
asking.
another steering committee. Both myself and Dr. Vitale agreed that, you know, with the steering committee, all the board members are welcome and are invited to attend.
Okay.
And I would maybe suggest that we look to do another one of those.
In an evening,
And maybe virtual.
yeah, in an evening or with
And
virtual,
virtual,
yeah.
yeah.
Because I mean, like, I know one was like during the day and one was maybe at 4:30 or 2:34, I forget what the time frame was. But, you know, that was just time, that day was not a good day, you know,
Yeah.
but that might help in terms of even before the EPR meeting, you know, I don't, you know, whichever, I don't, like, I don't, doesn't matter to me, it's just, I just wanna make sure everyone on the board has the opportunity to, you know, ask questions or, you know, whatever.
We'll get something out sooner than
prior-
later.
Yeah.
So we can have some time for planning.
Only
and-
because I
putting it
just
out.
don't want knowing that you're up against, I think you said a May 1st or something like that deadline. I don't want the April 28th board meeting, you know, to, you know, have something that like really needs to be answered or something has to be changed or whatever, you know what I mean? That would be too tight, so if we can,
Yeah.
you know, kind of get that other stuff, you know, whatever done prior to that. That would probably be helpful for everyone. Truthfully, and keep the board in compliance with the dates. I mean, we don't, you know, the district rather.
Mhm.
Okay, so we need to vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then our next meeting is, as we said, April 10th at 5:30, both here or on Zoom. And thanks, everyone. Adjournment. Have a good
Motion.
night. Oh, yeah, a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
All in favor?
Oh, all right. If we have
Thank
to.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
When's the next Honor Society induction this year? I just gotta mark my calendar.
I was just saying, I couldn't make it unless because we were away. I emailed him. I said, when is it? I have to get it on the calendar. So.
Okay.
Don't.
Cause I know a lot of your seniors are asking me if I'm gonna be there.
It's okay.
Good, how's everything? You too.
Say, grab a snack on the way home.